You guys whether you think we need to do this on the video or not, but basically we just have a decision point, and Jill and I discussed just we always operate by consensus, so I think that's what we should do here is just check comfort level and consensus. We are not anywhere in a time crunch, but it's all good to get things moving too. So I think we just need to discuss to see if we have a consensus to do anything at this meeting, if so, what that is, and if not, whether just to get started on February 8th instead. So do you guys want to get on to have that discussion, or do you think we can just see if we want to proceed, and if we do, then get on the meeting? Okay, so I had texted this to Jill, and my only concern, so Stephanie was like, here's the very specific process for what you're supposed to do today. And of course, under the act, to start negotiations, if we want to do negotiations, we have to exchange notice letters. That's the start of the process. And then Stephanie, which we all know this, who's been here before, but for issue statements, she reminded me about brief introduction, put them all up, match them up, see what goes together, and then start seeing if there's low-hanging fruit or anything that's time-sensitive. I know Jill had mentioned that you had something that's time-sensitive, but I'm a little wary of going outside of the process and only exchanging like partial issue statements or one issue statement, because I think we need to like really stick to what the process is and either do exactly what Stephanie instructed me on the phone to do or just postpone. I threw out a third idea that I had to Jill, which was that we could, to exchange things, put them on the shared Google Drive, each have a homework assignment of reviewing them, and then be ready to be facilitated in the grouping and stuff like that at the next meeting.
So if all we're doing today is each side presenting their issues and kind of the basis for how, explaining what that fully means, but we're not going through the process of identifying interest or anything like that. It's really kind of explaining the notice letter, which, by the way, I have it for you if you need it.
Awesome.
And I think I like the idea of, I think we can do that. I think we can group similar things, and I think it would be a good idea to start prioritizing on both sides things that we need to, because I imagine you all probably have some more time-sensitive things too. So I think we have to be honest with each other, and I think we have that relationship that if we feel like we're veering off that process, that we self-check and get back on. But Jay, I don't want to discount how.
I think she's just crucial in helping us wordsmith it and make sure that the question doesn't have any solution in it.
Yeah.
So, I think we can show them, but realize that we're going to possibly change the wording of the question.
I think that's a good thing. Yeah. Could that be homework for Stephanie?
Yeah.
That, hey, we have really
I'm ready,
tried,
just
we can do what we can do. I think we can honestly say, if nobody gets offended, that was our self-check when we met was, are we solving the problem in our, or suggesting a solution in our question. But
Yeah.
So, I think we should feel like we're comfortable enough to just say, hey, I kind of feel that. And if we can't figure out together how to best frame that, we need Stephanie's, maybe we could start that way on February 8th, go back to specific issues that she needs to frame and focus for us a little bit more.
So nobody gets tied to what the issue statement is. Just look at the overall topic when we're grouping that, understanding that she may guide us, that this is loaded or you need to take a step back.
Would it make sense to not even try to edit them today? Just take them at face value and
Probably.
not even
That's a good
try?
idea.
Yeah.
And just try to group them how they are, then agree on February 8th. This is when we're going to edit them.
And if we can be on YouTube or record in some way, that'd be great, because I know there's going to be some people that would like to see what issues are. It's official, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's okay to put our issues out there.
And then, like I said, my only concern was if we start taking away things without some guide,
Yeah.
it could get dicey.
So we won't have substantive discussion today. We will just be like, hey, here's what we came up with. Don't marry this wording of this issue statement.
Correct.
And then that helps us to have set our agenda for February, so, because I believe that's another 2-hour session, so that's a good effective use of time.
Okay, I think we're ready to go on. Clayton, if you're ready.
Well, there's a camera there. And a camera there.
Okay, just, I don't think we have the issue with computer volume this time because we are not having anyone participate virtually. But I do think everyone has to have their microphones on so that technology can pick up the sound on our YouTube video. Are we on, Clayton? Okay. So for anyone who is watching remotely, I'll share that we do not have our FNCS facilitator present today. She was unavailable at the last meeting. And so prior to this meeting starting, the 10 team members discussed what we wanted to do today with regard to the agenda, since we don't have a facilitator. And we agreed that since we've worked together for a couple years now, we're comfortable just exchanging our notice letters and issue statements and briefly introducing them, and then trying to set an agenda for our next meeting. But we will not get into any substantive discussions today, other than maybe saying, hey, this issue's time sensitive or this issue's not, so that we can be fully prepared to start working on February 8th. I do not have a preference on who goes first. It does not matter to me. I don't know who went first last year, if we want to try and flip-flop.
Like you do one, we do one? Oh, flip a coin.
Flip a coin is
I don't have a coin.
first.
I think,
I'm happy to start.
yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so I'm trying to save the trees, so I didn't print 10 copies like I have every year. What I'm gonna do is upload them into our negotiations team shared folder in the 2022-23 subfolder.
Does one of our team people want to do that with ours?
I can.
Okay,
Thank you.
or sorry, go ahead.
Can we project them as we're discussing them, too? That would kind of be helpful.
I can certainly try. Okay, so that TV is on. I will try and cast here. Boardroom.
No, they're loud.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Okay, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on our notice letter. This is just making sure that we meet the statutory requirement of identifying our 3 terms and conditions. And it reads pretty much like our letter did for the last 2 years. I addressed it to Jill as the lead negotiator and highlighted our strategic plan objectives. So our 3 terms and conditions, and you'll kind of see a theme as we go through ours, was basically just, we kind of, the board kind of thought, and we kind of thought, the district team members did, that when you have a big change to the P&A or a revision, that it's a good idea to look back and see if it's working, basically, to go back and review that, because we did have a shift in how it went. So that's going to be kind of the theme that you see this year. It's not, that we're necessarily unhappy with it, we don't think it's working, but we did talk last year about, okay, let's do this, let's try this, bring back data for the team to consider. Ooh. There we go. So our first one was to go back and look at that resignation provision, very specifically the late resignation provision, and I'll flesh that out in our issue statement. The next one was to go back and look at the grievance procedure one, and again, I'll flesh that out in our issue statement more narrowly, what we would like to look at. And then the third, again, this is a revisit of what we've done before, because we I think last year we did our MOU about our negotiations process even before we got to this point, but since we hadn't done that yet, our team members thought it was important. And again, we would be looking, and this will be fleshed out in our issue statement, for something not any different than what we've done before, to make sure we have a consensus or agreement on what our process will be. And then, of course, every year we have compensation and hours amounts of work as issues. And as always, we're always interested, like we did kind of at the tail end last year, is there cleanup? Do we have language stating that anyone who, started in 1917, gets X benefit, like whatever that may be, just to look at it and make sure it's a clean, accessible document. Okay. All right, and here are our issue statements. Okay, so this is really our first one, and I kind of just checked repair, remodel, and discuss just to give us the room and the space. But this, our issue is just to review the outcomes of the new late resignation provision developed by the IBB team last year. So we would like to, it's not really a problem, so to speak, but just, hey, let's go back and look at it, see have we made it better, and test it. And all of our interests are the same as they were when we originally introduced the issue. 2, I will tell you, is precautionary, and it may be eliminated as of tomorrow. I'll share just a little bit of information. Unfortunately, and I will not identify this individual by name, they're no longer a district employee. Unfortunately, we did have an issue with it was an early education teacher who walked away from their position with no notice to the district. And Dr. Schumacher communicated the requirements of the late resignation provision, and unfortunately that teacher chose not to comply. So we had a 0-day notice situation, and we followed the P&A, and we could not accept any liquidated damages because you have to work 10 days to pay the liquidated damages to get released from your contract. So unfortunately, we had to file a complaint with the Professional Practices Commission. Again, heads up and fair notice was given to that individual before we proceeded. Our hearing officer asked me to brief an issue that I know Linda is very familiar with, which is a state regulation that says if a teacher could be released from their contract upon payment of liquidated damages, we will not take discipline against their license. Well, our argument is they could not be released because they did not work their 10 days. So the commission's actually going to hear this argument tomorrow, and I should know by tomorrow whether basically they will enforce our 10-day notice period or not. I think that they will, based on previous cases the commission has heard that involved a liquidated damage provision, but I'll let you know, and if it doesn't work because we can't enforce it, then we might want to go back and look at it. So I'll keep you updated on the status of that, but I put this in here as a precautionary to make sure I noticed it. The third, as everyone is aware of, we obviously have to negotiate the form of the contract. The district can't go in and change that language. Last year, we issued our contracts, I believe, before the P&A was ratified. So it has the old language regarding $1,000. So we just wanted to do some cleanup work to change that to correctly reflect what the P&A states. The grievance procedure, and Stephanie may give us some guidance here. We have walked through it a couple times between the administration and the association this year. Something that we wanted to talk about was we felt that it was a problem that level 2 grievances are always heard by the superintendent, and there may be a more appropriate administrator depending on how the level 1 grievance went. So that's something we would like to talk about to make sure the person who's in the best position to hear a grievance is the one who hears it. So it's a pretty narrow issue that we'd like to talk about with respect to the changes we made last year. This 5th one is, again, just going back to sort of the same issue that the district has brought the past 2 years about the procedure. I don't want to be solution oriented, but we have adopted an MOU in the past, and it may be that doing something very similarly quickly resolves this. But that's exactly what we're looking at. It's the same thing that we've introduced to you guys before, just wanted to make sure not just we're on the same page with regard to what we're negotiating versus discussing, but are we doing joint statements? What are our meeting norms? Because I never want to assume we're doing something. I think every year we have to decide, did that work last year and do we want to do it this year? The sixth issue is compensation. Again, this reads exactly like our compensation issue statement for the past couple of years. We obviously need to negotiate that. And we did recognize on the issue focus that we do have a salary subcommittee that has been working, although I don't know if that's something that they're going to have a recommendation for this year. And then the last one involves, again, the work of another subcommittee, and that's a subcommittee working on guarded PLC time for our middle school and elementary school teachers. And you guys may have an identical issue statement, but the focus of that is we'd like that subcommittee to present their recommendations. And then, of course, we would have to reach a consensus on that and to determine if there's any P&A changes that are necessary to effectuate that. And that was it. Again, really, I know last year we did a lot of really difficult, in-depth, sometimes overhaul work. And following a year like that, we just kind of wanted to maybe do what's more akin to like refining or reviewing. We didn't have such similar sort of meaty topics this year. And that's it. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, do you want me to share, or all our stuff is already in there?
Here, I can kick myself off the
Okay.
display.
These are all
How do I do that? Thank you. This one?
I had to use that button yet.
I knew
I
it.
didn't know what it was.
I didn't know that's how you did it.
Okay. So we can start by sharing our notice letter, and then we'll go through them. I'll make this bigger. So little. Okay, so we've got compensation, noticing that, I don't think we really changed much of what was written in here from last year, just an increase in the dollar amount in all cells of the salary schedule, adding positions to the supplemental salary schedule, increase compensation to adequately and equitably fund positions. We typically notice hours and amounts of work, so we've got a couple things listed on there. And we'll go through those. Okay. And then that's the first two. And then the next three, the first one is the health insurance premium, as we typically notice. The next one is ensuring professional employees are not financially penalized because of exposure due to their working conditions. And then the third one, we would like to discuss calendar as it relates to the strategies that we have outlined in the strategic plan. The rest of our letter just talks about different things that we would like to request information from the district, as we typically do. So there's some things on there. If you have a question about them, obviously you can ask us and we can, let you know what we are wanting. Should I go through those now?
That's data
Yeah.
that Russ normally provides for us.
And then you think we'll need to discuss some of the issues?
Yeah.
So when we
Okay.
start going through and doing, it's helpful to have that stuff.
Okay.
And Linda's got a paper one for you too, so.
Awesome.
Okay. So, and we're just going to kind of jump around, meaning like some of us will say, introduce different issues. We didn't put ours as a PDF, but that's okay. We got it.
Well, I figured since,
Oh, that's true,
If we're
because
gonna
because we
edit
might
that.
edit it, so, yeah, that's what she just said. Duh. Okay. So Jay.
It's the difficult compensation. You know, I don't remember what number yours was, but this will just get paired off with that.
Okay. I'll try and take notes on things that we like, just
Hold on, let me do this.
know.
I think, I'm not trying to step on somebody else's foot, but because they have it.
He's gonna want you to turn that on.
It is on. I don't know what's wrong with it. Oh, now, all right, my bad. The light turned a different shade. Wow, I'm loud. All right. I think that the difference is that this is primarily just focusing on the salary schedule, whereas, is it item 2? Do you have that?
John,
Yeah, issue number 2 is looking at the supplemental salary schedule, just making sure that it's adequately and equitably compensated for all levels, middle, high, elementary, for additional stipends.
I think the clarity on that is typically it's been included with the other one, and it's just kind of a follow through, and I think there's some specific things that we need to talk about on it versus just having it kind of follow along with the standard.
Do you think that that's something that would be prime for like a subcommittee to work on?
Possibly.
We had
Yeah,
talked about
we
that.
thought that would be a good idea.
Okay.
We talked about that in our meeting.
Cool, so that's 1 and 2. Hold on, let me, they're always so small. I was prep time, you were staffing?
I'm 4.
Okay, got it.
You're
Thanks.
3.
I should know this because I'm the one that put it together. Okay, our issue number 3, hours and amounts of work. And in this one, it's kind of in regards to preparing and providing effective instruction. So we'll go into more detail about that when we meet with Stephanie. Okay.
Okay. And then I have number 4. It's under hours and amounts of work, but we did mark it as economic because we see that this might potentially have financial impact. So we wanted to just, start it that way. So what we're looking at is how do we address staffing to make sure that we have enough staff that everyone's workloads are manageable, that students' academic, social, emotional needs are being met. So just staffing. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we marked this one as a remodel just because we don't really have something, I don't think currently really addressing this issue. It's physically aggressive students assaulting staff. We want to ensure our staff's safety. So yeah, we'll kind of get more into this and we don't have a solution obviously because we don't want to come with a solution to the issue. So we just like to have a very robust conversation and see if there's anything that we can do to address the safety issue. So.
Okay.
With J. Calendar.
Yeah, I closed it, of course. In regards to just the calendar and addressing some issues that have come up that we would like to have a discussion and I don't know, the easiest part is just like my brain just went out the window. Issue statement of how do we improve the calendar to reflect the strategies of the strategic plan. I think there's some discussions and possibly some changes that could be made to help our staff.
Okay.
Okay, me? All right, issue number 7, also we marked as economic. Our team would like to have a discussion surrounding COVID leave, coming out of concern for people running out of leave days, access to the sick leave bank, and just trying to make sure that people aren't working for free or paying to work. It's kind of our motivation behind that.
Okay.
And I am number 8, which is health insurance, which we know we get a lot of work done on this through our benefits committee. And so we just want to look at maintaining the healthcare options and affordability of different plans for all staff.
And we have a 9th on here, but it is kind of like what you guys had, we're bringing things from previous year to see that it's working, check up on it. Yeah.
Just a continuation of the professional development
Okay.
issues from last year. I think that's, is it the same? Did we just copy it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure,
we
yeah.
kind of copied it. I know this one kind of went a little bit in with the staff meeting, but I think it's actually more of just making sure our
Professional
PD is specific to what that staff member needs. So that's.
And just to add to this, just so that you guys are kind of thinking as we go through, and we'll add more, particularly around, or part of this issue for staff members who do not hold teaching licenses and professional development for those people. So, social workers, nurses, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So, looking at the calendar, February 8th is a short meeting, and then we have a long meeting at the end of February.
Yeah, let's do
And so we've got 9 total issues that NEA presented, and then the district has 7. And I can tell you right off the bat that it probably makes sense to group R 1 through 3 together, because that's all about late resignation.
Okay.
I don't think that one's pressing.
And no, I would not say that's priority. I would not say our grievance issue I don't see as a time-sensitive or priority. I do see our negotiation procedure. That's probably, if we had identified the one we wanted to talk about first, it would be that one. 6 is compensation, which should align with your NEA issue number 1, which we have to wait until, and partly 2.
At 8 too.
You're a health insurance one. So, and I didn't bring any supplies, of course, today. If someone maybe wants to take notes in the,
I've been trying to start, like, last year, I guess I should ask first. Last year, the spreadsheet we had of just like, these are all the issues, this is when we discussed them, this is where we're at, was that a helpful tool for people?
yeah.
Okay, so would someone like me to start like bare bonesing it, and then people
Yep.
jump in and help me if they have time?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
As far as our priorities, I would suggest that 7 after 5
okay.
would be a priority for us.
And I think, again, we don't have a negotiations like process per se agreement. Last year, we generally kind of did, you guys do an issue, we do an issue, but of course, time-sensitive things or important things we would make adjustments. But I think we could potentially identify 2 issues and get those marked off for our February 8th meeting. One from NEA and one from the district. And if I picked one for February 8th, it'd be the negotiations process one, which I think we can knock out pretty quickly.
I would think for, our team talked about this a little bit, that NEA number 7 is important. I think it's important to our community to hear that discussion. I think that might help not only the HR staff, but the NEA-Shawnee mission staff, if we can kind of have a message that's coming out as to what's being done about COVID, and then we'd also like to IBB this issue to see what more possibility, other things we can come up collectively to not only help people this year, but as people are moving forward. We have people in different stages of their lives and their careers here, and anyways, so I think that's a good discussion to have pretty early. I think everybody's invested in that issue. I know that NEA and HR have had a lot of conversations as we've moved through COVID the last 2 years, and so this is a good item for us to work on as we've been working on it outside of the table.
Yep, I would welcome the conversation as well.
And I don't think either one of those pairs up with anything else. Okay.
And I do think that if we can have a discussion on that COVID, on the COVID leave, and maybe up to date about what we're doing so far, and if people understand that that we're not going to have anybody writing checks to the district as we work on this process, that the actual IBB process of that might be better for our 8-hour day. But I think having, unpacking that issue for all to hear would be really good.
Got it.
And you brought up a great point. There probably would be some data that we might want to have for that discussion. And part of what our notice letter asked for was total number of staff who have exhausted their current and banked leave in the 21-22 school year. We said as of February 1st, just because that's a date coming up.
Right.
And then the total number of staff who've been granted days from the district's sick leave bank and the total number of days that have been granted. So like how many staff members have received some days and then how many days have been granted.
And we would want this for the February 2nd meeting, just to kind of
Eighth.
start the
It's the
discussion?
8th.
8th, okay.
Yeah, if we could.
I mean, if we had to adjust that to like what it was as of, February 1st is hard to get to, just as current information as we could get.
What if so we'll have a couple more on the board meeting for Monday. So what if I gave you an update as of this coming Monday?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I see, because you bring it to the board and they have to, okay,
Right.
Yeah, no, that's perfect.
yeah.
We just had to pick a date.
Sure,
and
yep.
That's the day we picked.
Is your number 7 time sensitive for things? I
Well,
know
given our
since we were-
discussion last week, I think we need to hit it pretty quickly. Because we do want to brief the board on what we're thinking.
And I think you were saying you'd like to look at number 7 after your number 5. I mean, like
That
on the
would be our
next-
number 2.
I'm sorry, what was number 7?
Time for PLC.
PLC.
And there's a
Okay.
recommendation from that committee. So do we want to put that at the start of our, no, we might have carryover from February 8th, but put that on as number 1 on the agenda for February 23rd? Okay.
Can we have 2 on the 8th? Is that an all day?
February 8th is 2 hours after school. February 23rd
Oh, okay,
is
sorry.
all day. So
I just know-
eighth will be shorter.
I just
Got
know
it.
you may mention that you wanted to get it to the board as quick as you could.
I mean, I'm sure your first issue, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's gonna take more than 20 minutes.
If you
Number
want,
5.
Yeah. If you want me to do homework of copying our last MOU and deleting, we had dates and stuff in
Yeah,
there
yeah.
that don't apply. And I can strike through so everyone can see.
Yeah.
But I can do homework and come prepared with one that has like dates in it that are not incorrect. And we could look at it, so then it would be, and I'll put it in the shared folder, so if
Yeah, I
anyone
was gonna
wants
say,
to
if you
like,
just drop it in there
look at it
a day ahead or
beforehand.
so,
Yeah.
then we can hop in and take a look at it and then hit it and move
Okay.
on from there.
So we could potentially, and I guess if we're just putting these in order, what is, if we run out of things to talk about, we just move to the next thing on the list.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll have our number 7 as the next thing.
Yeah.
Okay, and I don't see that as pairing with anything else. Okay. And then we would go to an NEA issue.
I mean, it kinda does. I think there's definitely some overlap.
Are we
but-
thinking, this is for the all-day session that we're thinking? Okay. Well, calendar might be good, just if we do make any adjustments. I know that district leaders and the board like to give our community as much notice of that as possible, so,
So we would have like Dr. Dennis come and potentially share information at that. That's your issue number 6.
yeah.
Do you know if Dr. Dennis has a draft calendar?
Oh, we've already have a
Yeah,
calendar
that's-
that's
Okay.
already been approved.
For 23, 24, right?
And then, and we're talking about 22, actual 22, 23, because we
Oh.
actually already,
Way up there.
we actually got, Jill and I met with Dr. Dennis and discussed a lot of changes, and he incorporated those into what he brought to the board 2 meetings ago, I think. So
Okay.
some of these might be 22.
They were changes for the 23, 24, but yeah, we'd like to look at,
These are some proposed for 22, 23, and a couple items on there that might be items of consideration for all future calendars.
Okay, so you guys want to pair 6 with, or do,
Or 7.
do 6 and 7 are on the same time?
Yeah.
Okay. So because our late resignation is grouped together, I'm trying to think which, I mean, obviously compensation we'd hold till the end, so if I put anything else, I guess that's the question, do we want to wait and gather, like, do we want to push that a little bit back so we have more data if we potentially get more late resignations and just do grievance
Good point.
first?
Yep.
And
Makes
then
sense.
plus then the pending professional practices commission matter should be resolved. So I would put our grievance issue as next, which I don't think will be super time consuming. It's, for us, it was narrow. Stephanie may direct us to take a step back. So,
I would suggest on NEA 2, if the team is potentially foreseeing that going to a subcommittee,
oh,
that we at least introduce it
okay,
fairly early on, like no final decisions, but that way a committee could get working on it.
yeah. In fact, do we want to just form that committee at the February 8th
Yeah.
meeting? Okay, so let's put that on the agenda for February 8th, is form supplemental schedule subcommittee.
So would we introduce that on the same day as we do SMSD 5 and NEA 7? Or the next time? Or when we do PLC calendar?
Yes, same
and
time as we do 5 and
Okay.
7.
And then, Mike, I think we need to, I don't know, we don't have another date for our,
Salary schedule. Yeah, we were talking about that. We can maybe talk offline, but I think we were waiting on, or maybe I'll say it, I think we were waiting on edits to the thought exchange that we were thinking of pushing out.
yeah, okay.
Okay, so then really we need to pick another NEA issue to put for February 23rd.
Could,
3 or 4?
I think 3 or 4 would be fine.
I think 3 definitely would go well with the
The
other stuff.
PLC issue and, okay. So let's put time to prep for instruction as next. And then what, do we have a short and again, we might go quicker, we might go slower, so I think you're just putting them in order, right, Lindsay?
Yeah, so I have SMSD 5, NEA 7, SMSD 7, NEA 6, SMSD 4, NEA 2, but then I have NEA 3.
Okay,
So
yep.
do I have that in the right order?
Except for I think NEA2, which is the supplemental schedule, can
Uh-huh.
go right after our 5 or right after your 7. I think we can move it up so we make sure we get it done at the February 8th meeting.
Okay.
Are you saying get the supplemental schedule?
Get a committee.
Get a committee, sorry, gotcha, yeah.
Yeah, basically run through it, tweak it, get a committee going.
Present it, where you guys see issues.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, when is our meeting after February 23rd? Is that full day or? Okay, so that's a shorter meeting. And I feel like, I was looking at grouping, late resignation and staffing shortages might be, I don't know, somewhat in the same arena.
I foresee the staffing one being a fairly long, robust conversation, that
Okay.
it might be better to
Put it on a longer day.
put it on a long day.
Okay. What would be good for you guys on a short day if we were each picking an issue?
Maybe the professional development?
Yeah,
Yeah.
PD.
Okay. So then we'll do our 1 through 3 of late resignation, which might just turn into 1 and 3. And your number 9, professional development.
Do we want to ask some, like Brittany Gonzer, if she wants to listen to our discussion about professional development?
Yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
we're organized enough at the end of every meeting, we're assigning
Oh, gotcha.
homework and inviting guests. So
Good
yes, I
point.
think.
Mhm.
Okay, and then our next meeting after that is probably a full day in after spring break,
Yeah, end of March.
March 24th. And then at that point, the only thing we have left is compensation, but we could do those meatier issues of staffing shortages and physically aggressive students.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone remember when Russ did his budget presentation last year? It was after spring break, right?
Yeah. He usually, doesn't he normally do,
In
begin
April.
to do his first presentation, kind of where we are in April, something to
Yeah.
the board? It's where something big something
Yeah.
big happens then.
So if we actually meet this schedule, that works pretty nicely
Yeah.
because then we have teed up the compensation issue and health insurance.
Yeah.
Both of which, if we really do get that far, we might end up canceling some of our April dates because benefits has to generally wait until
Further
later
Uh-huh.
into the year before we get rates, and also depending on how the legislature is working, they may not get to budget for a while. So,
Okay.
that's a good plan. I
No,
feel about-
it
I
all
feel good
aligned
about
pretty
that.
nicely, actually. Okay, so for our next meeting on my birthday, I will
Oh,
send you all
wait.
my wish list.
Today is Jay's birthday, so we need to wish him happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Jay.
Is it really? I
That made me
thought we
think
had
of that.
that whole discussion that we weren't doing one on your birthday. But
No,
were-
we moved it to my birthday, and
All
I was
right.
like, as long as
One,
we're up
two,
for
three.
5.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jay. Happy birthday to you.
Aren't you glad?
Thank you.
Happy birthday. That's
Thank you.
awesome. Okay, so more importantly, my birthday is no. So I'll do my homework. I'll come prepared with like a, strike. It'll be the exact same thing we did last year, but I think there's just date things that we can delete out, so it might be even shorter. And we can get that subcommittee formed and present the requested data regarding staff who have exhausted their leave and the data about our sick leave bank.
Right.
And then Stephanie can help us unpack our issues on COVID leave and the guarded PLC time if we get that far.
Right.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Okay, absolutely. Well, I'm glad we were able to be productive. I know Stephanie was encouraging us to go forward anyway. She thought we were there. But I think it worked to
We proved her right.
get us started. Yeah.
Safe
I was going to say, do we want to make sure she knows February 8th? that-
I will be sending a reminder way in advance, and hopefully she can be here in person. I don't know if the guidelines for federal workers have changed, but I hope she can be here in person, because I really liked when we did our training session.
Yeah.
It's a lot better.
So do we want to do a joint statement that we met today and briefly introduced our issues and the issues that we are planning on starting with on February 8th, just short and sweet?
I am happy to put that
Yeah.
together if we have a consensus to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
personally,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, I'm driving to my daughter's gymnastics. I'm gonna write it up there. So please check, it should be in there by 6.
Okay.
And then what I've always done is speak now or forever hold your peace until 8:59 a.m. tomorrow morning. And if no one has emailed or made edits to it, then I will instruct our communications department to send it on that same listing we used last year, and
Yeah, perfect.
NEA-SM will release as well.
Yes.
I bet I can go back and copy and paste from what we, our
Yeah,
first one
probably
from
so.
last year, and then just change it.
I think it will catch some people by surprise, just that we're starting this early.
Yeah.
And we haven't had a rep council meeting. We have one Monday, but we haven't had one since the end of November. So, we've sent some things out that things are happening, but I just think that's good to let
Yeah.
everybody know.
I do too.
Awesome.
So I know that this is a rolling schedule here with our issues, but do we have a game plan for what do we hope to start with on February 8th, and then
Yeah,
we chunk these together? I know you mentioned a bunch of dates, and I just want to make sure I'm on the same page.
So February 8th will go, so that spreadsheet that Lindsay started in our shared
Yeah.
folder, which you should be on.
That's what I'm
Dr.
looking
Dean.
at, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
I
s-
just
Yeah.
getting it all set up is taking me
Oh,
some time,
thanks.
so.
So we'll start with a discussion of our process. We will form a subcommittee regarding the salary schedule or supplemental schedule issue. And then we will go to COVID leave and have Stephanie help us in the presentation and framing of that issue. And we will come prepared with the data that was requested. And I think that's doable for 2 hours.
Yep. But we're also trying to introduce the supplementary salary schedule and,
We're gonna form a committee that's gonna do some work on
right.
that.
But those are all to be introduced on
Yes.
the 8th. I
So
just wanna
we'll
make
like, we always call them unpacking them. So sometimes that's like, okay, what the heck are you actually talking about?
Correct.
And we usually, I mean, I think we all, like, sometimes we get too specific and Stephanie will say, take a step back. What's the real 10,000 foot level problem? And sometimes it's difficult. Like, I know you had the middle school coordinator on there. Sometimes it's like, well, that is a specific thing we have to talk about, but she'll guide us and tell us if that's going to get us off track or not. So, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thank you.